Here we go.
Ah, there we are. There we are. Thank you. So welcome, everyone. My name is Danny Kincaid. I'm the director of the Biological and Chemical Oceanography Data Management Office, or BICO-DEMO, which is a digital repository for oceanography, sitting in the US in Massachusetts. And I want to welcome everyone here to today's, or whichever time zone you happen to be in, our BoF on launching the Earth, Space, and Environmental Science Communities of Practice. And I'm joined today by co-chairs of the ESESIG, which sort of launched this effort. And those members are joining me now. Shelley Stahl is Senior Director of Data Leadership at the American Geophysical Union. Leslie Wyborn, who will be joining us shortly, is a research professor specializing in geoinformatics at ANU, or Australian National University. Pedro Carrera is an associate professor at the Escuela Politécnica at the University of Sao Paulo. And we will have a speaker joining us in recorded state, Alice Fremon, a geophysics data manager with the UK Polar Data Center at the Antarctic Survey. And so we want to welcome you all to this BoF, and we'll briefly kind of launch us into our agenda for our time together. We'll start with me welcoming everybody, which I think I can check the box there. We'll have a couple minutes of Shelley Stahl introducing the concept of the community of practice and its aims and objectives. This is an effort that's been gaining momentum within RDA, and it's really exciting to present this all to you now today. She'll be presenting the case statement, and we'll do this as a full group a little later in the agenda. We'll have some lightning presentations from representatives of the geoscience research community on why this is a great thing, the value of what a community of practice brings to the geoscience research community broadly, in terms of its value add in this sort of great community fabric for open science and open data and data management and data publication. We'll have a talk by Alice. We'll have an additional speaker or additional talk from Leslie Wyborn. Shelley will give a perspective from AGU. Pedro will talk to us about data curation and atmospheric data sets from the Amazon, from Amazon, and then some discussion with the audience. We'll also review the case statement, discuss how it relates to solving the ESES challenges in this space, have some group discussion on initial priorities for this community of practice, and then just some logistics about how the community of practice will function, and then we'll wrap up and kind of close with next steps. So please go visit the community collaborative notes. There's a bit.ly there, and there's also a QR code to make it easy for you. If you could fill in your name and your affiliation, just let us know who you are and that you're here contributing. That would be wonderful. Let's see, I think that's all I have. Shelley, I'll pass it off to you.
Danny, thank you so much. It's very nice to be doing this with you and everyone else here. So a community of practice at RDA is actually kind of new. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what that is in case you've not really heard much about it. And I do see Leslie. Hello, Leslie. Refresh the slides before. Oh, yes. Danny will have a chance to refresh those slides when I do the recording with Alice, so no worries. But if you could go to the next slide, let's talk a little bit about what RDA is thinking around this community of practice. I won't read it to you here, but I did highlight this word, disciplinary data challenges. And at the moment, we are very inclusive of software as well. because data is generated sometimes from software, and it's important to include that. And we're really leaning into the importance of our discipline and how data and software management practices need to consider what our researchers need. And it's not the same. And that matters to us. Next slide, please. So our community of practice currently is titled Improving Earth and Environmental Sciences Data. That can evolve. I've already told you that we're taking a broad description of data. We did choose not to include space, planetary, heliophysics here. It is part of the IG that we have, the Earth, Space and Environmental Science IG. We have not yet made a final decision on if our IG, which will be meeting later in the RDA virtual plenary, will dissolve, but that is on the table at the moment for consideration when the community of practice gets stood up. And here we have all of the objectives that have been crowdsourced from all of you. We will come back in the agenda to have you upvote these. And you are welcome to go do that at any time. They are in the collaborative notes at the bottom. And the way I'd like you to think about them, like for instance, let's just assume you all love them all. Okay, yay, that's great. We really hit it out of the park with objectives. If you could identify things that you'd like to be seen focused on in, let's give it 2 time frames, 1 year and 3 years. We must work on this in the first year. We must work on this in 3 years. I realize there's time in between, but to have you think in 2 chunks, must do right away, can wait a little bit, but must get to soon. Also okay for you to leave something blank. And if somebody who's better at logistics, how will we know each person? So there's a table and there's a little box. I don't know, perhaps you put your name and you say, 1 year, or your name and say 3 years. I'll let you, you're smart, you'll figure it out. Then what it will do is it will give us a chance to prioritize. And things that are coming in as very importantly at 1 year. So let's hold on it for the moment. We will have a conversation with that table in front of us, and we can all, perhaps even convince each other as to why we want certain things, and that might encourage others to also want. But that is, this is self-directed, right? Like we as a group can decide what we would like to work on together. Next slide. I feel like there was, oh, there it is. There was also a vision statement. Can you go backwards too? I feel like we missed one. There we go. Okay. Reason for standing. No. All right. Maybe I deleted it. There was a lot of typing very fast earlier. No, it's okay. Value proposition. The vision statement's also in the case statement, so it's not like it disappeared. But the idea here is providing the international earth and environmental science community with a sustainable, persistent platform to coordinate and calibrate on the topics identified. We believe there isn't one that is this broad, pulling everyone together, separate from the ESES-IG that we already have. There's specific platforms, but not a single place. So I hope we're not too narcissistic. If people disagree with that, I'm happy to soften this. Okay, next slide. Alrighty, that's your intro. Let's have some conversation with other folks. So we have several speakers. Danny has already introduced them. The first one is a recording from Alice Fremont. And Danny, if you don't mind unsharing, I will share the recording. Lovely, thank you.
Certainly.
And here we go.
Hello, my name is Alice Prémont, and I am a geophysics data manager at the UK Polar Data Centre. And the question that was given to me was, why is it a good idea to set up a RDA community of practice for the Earth and environmental sciences? So as a data manager, I manage a lot of data. So for me, this range from bathymetry to airborne geophysics, including magnetic, gravity, and radar echo-sending data. So while I try to be involved in each of these community, it is not always possible to know all the specificities of each disciplines. So when I need to advise a scientist or publish data from a discipline I'm less familiar with, I find myself searching for hours. The type of data formats, portals, tools, or standards that are in use. But the RDA community of practice could be my go-to hub for finding these recommendations. If no recommendations are available for my discipline, this could be a place to find fellow collaborators and learn from the experience of others Earth and environmental disciplines. So while some questions can be easily answered or discussed, this could lead to other projects or working groups within the RDA. But one big advantage of this community of practice would be to contribute also from other initiatives or projects to the community and to this group. For instance, I've been working the last 2 years on a big collaboration project that is called BedMap 3. And it is an initiative supported by the Scientific Committee on the Antarctic Research that aims to provide a map of ice thickness, surface, and bed topography of the Antarctic. But as part of this project, we have developed specific formats, metadata recommendations, and tools that help scientists publish and reuse this ice thickness data. And these recommendations have been published in a data paper, but they are not easily findable. So the RDA community of practice could be where I share this new practice in the community. And this time it's not only data, but the practices that would be more fair. So findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So to summarize, setting up a community of practice for the Earth and environmental sciences would facilitate the discovery of best practices in my domain. I will be able to learn from the experience of other disciplines, and I could collaborate with others and contribute to and promote the best practices and standards in my field. So for all these reasons, I would strongly recommend the creation of this community of practice. So as its name implies, it is a community effort, but I think it would be of great benefits for scientists, data managers, or publishers alike. Thank you very much. Bye.
Back to you, Danny. At least with the slides,
Yes.
if you don't mind.
This is where I do my soft shoe while I find my slides again.
Don't forget to sing. Oh, I'm
Right.
sorry, never mind, but wrong Zoom.
Well, let's see. I am suddenly very slide challenged.
Next speaker, was it Leslie?
Well,
I think so.
Okay.
I've lost my slides, you guys. I apologize.
I have them. Yep,
I mean-
it's Leslie. Leslie, you said to refresh, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. Here I come.
Nice, thank you.
No worries. That's not,
I accidentally closed my window.
Yeah, that's me.
Guys.
okay.
Okay, so just thought, like I'm part of the Earth and Environmental Sciences interest group, but that's much more based around infrastructures, research infrastructures. And I just thought, I felt this is a challenge that maybe the community of practice could also help address, because what we're finding as we try and bring more and more data sets together is that and AI and machine learning take off, there is just a proliferation of online vocabularies. And you, as the researcher, don't know which ones to pick. You don't know how reliable they are. You don't know whether they'll be here in another year or so. Will they outlive your data set? But more importantly, who's endorsing the content of those vocabularies, ontologies, and other semantic resources? So recently I decided to, with Kirsten, Leonard, and Martha, clerking for geochemistry, we decided to look into standards for geochemical data. And we came across this definition in the CoData Research Data Management Terminologies. I thoroughly recommend you look at that because it's got definitions of everything. And it defines a standard as a set of agreed upon and documented guidelines, specifications, accepted best practice, technical requirements, or terminologies that have been prepared, and this is the critical thing, by a standards developing organization or group and published in accordance with established procedures. And the conclusion we came to in geochemistry was that there were no standards in that definition because there was no standards endorsing body for geochemistry. And this is not just unique to geochemistry. So next slide, please. So when you look at geophysics, and within the unions, although the experts are there, so this is the International Union of Geodesy and Geophysics, and there are 8 groups, like in cryosphere, geodesy, gravity, seismology, and in volcanology. And within that union, there across those 8 associations, there's no standard way across how you use DOIs for data sets or how you define standards for content, and more importantly, as we move to more HPC-enabled geophysics, no standard formats. And so this community has just got together and proposed to IUGG that they support a data and information commission across the union. But that's just within geophysics. And as we know, in Earth and Environmental Sciences, we've got other topics, and we've got no place where we bring all this together, which is why we thought the community of practice could fill this in. Next slide. Geochemistry is worse, and I can say this because I am a geochemist actually. They are so disorganized. And as you can see in the bottom, there are 5 unions that are dealing with standards for geochemistry. And then you have all these societies, associations, but only 3 of these are attached to a union. And that's why I can honestly say there is no, as per the CoData definition, standards for geochemical content because there is no agreed standards organization. And so we really do need to get together and decide, well, who's going to start endorsing the agreed standards, because without those, particularly for semantics, we're never going to be able to get agreed standards. Now, I'd also associate that when I say agreed, it's something that the community comes to, And I realised that we're never ever going to get one standard because, as you know, just look at what happens with the railways or when we do travel, how we're always, you know, looking for those PowerPoint socket converters, etc. But we need to start bringing them down. And where is the place that we can start to discuss this, which is partly what we wanted the community of practice for. But if you can go to the next slide, please, Shelley. So that's what I'm also saying, that I've just talked about geophysics and geochemistry. One of the important things about CODATA is that it does have linkages to all the unions and the societies that are in the international science group. And so it's my way of saying we're never going to get some of these science unions to attend a Research Data Alliance, but through CODATA can we leverage. And then my final slide is hopefully next one. The next thing is, okay, so you get these endorsed standards and there can be multiples of them, but we need to coalesce and try and reduce them down. But how do you know where there are? And one thing I promote a lot is this Oceans Best Practice site. And that's a place where with oceans you can register like a CDF convention or a vocabulary or a protocol for a best method. And it's actually got a searchable index. And so you can find where there may be 5. But the important thing that's happening is as this site grows, people are starting to see the duplication of standards and they become a talking point. And they are getting together and trying to better converge and harmonize their standards. And so again, this is something for the COP to think about, is where would be a good place for a best practice site for earth and environmental data standards, protocols, best practices. Okay, that's it from me.
Shelley, I got you if you want me to steer again.
Yeah. Oh, wow, it's me. Okay, yeah, let me do that. You can take me. Oh, hey, everybody. One of the goals that the Open Science Leadership Team has for 2024 and beyond is to navigate this challenge around discipline-specific guidance. Alice mentioned it, Leslie mentioned it, and it comes up for the Open Science Data Help Desk that we have for each of the meetings. It is a challenge for publications when authors are, AGU authors are required to cite their data. Where do I put it? What do I put there? If you could go to the next slide. And for AGU, I see our role as helping to connect the dots. I think that was the most useful analogy. I believe that third bullet there, it says the landscape analysis. I believe, taking a look at the last slide that Leslie had about oceans best practices, I believe we have quite a lot of them out there. I don't believe that our research community has an easy way to know that, or an easy way to share. I'm actually putting 2 camps together, informatics and the researchers. I think researchers have best practices. Informatics has best practices. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't. I do think it would be brilliant to figure out and connect and find the folks that are working on it and make sure we are holding these informational discussion conversations. I also think it's really important that it's in a neutral location. I'm very cognizant of the fact that when there are, in some situations when AG is in the room, we're the elephant in the room. That doesn't work in these cases, right? we are neither the author, nor are we the endorsing body, nor are we the section leader, right? We are connecting the dots here. And inclusive of EGU's divisions, inclusive of JPGU's divisions, and all of the other geoscience, oceanographic, seismology, inclusive as possible, environmental. And then walking back up to the top dot there, one of the easiest conversations we can have, which was initiated during the last COPDIS meeting, is to invite editors together with repository folks to figure out what the best discipline-specific mappings are. This is just one small piece. And we're coming at this, connecting the dots, not in one direction, but in many directions. But we need a home. All of this information that we will, within the community, as the community engages in these conversations, needs a home. And it doesn't make sense for that home to be anywhere but somewhere neutral, supportive, that can be on with management that's ongoing and persistent, internationally oriented, and reliable. The landscape changes over time, and we would need to actually have a way to continue updating it and questioning it and improving it. And maybe it's not us, maybe it's somebody else who's just telling us something got improved and we just let everybody else know. That's it for me. I think Pedro's up next.
Is it the right slide? Am I good to go? Do we have Pedro? Maybe he's
Yes.
muted. Okay.
Okay. I will start my presentation about the community's efforts to make curation in aerosol data from data collected in Amazon. This process and these tools that we are working, they call data mapping Amazon. It's important to say that we have 3 institutions in Brazil, research institution in Brazil involved. University of São Paulo, researchers from Physics Institute and the Escola Politécnica from University of São Paulo. INPE. INPE is like NASA in Brazil, will support satellite data, and they make research with satellite data. And Unicamp is another university here in São Paulo. They have strong work with research in Amazon. It's important to say that these efforts is using the recommendations and the experience that we got during the Parsec project. Parsec project is a Belmont project that Chile is the PI of this project, and we have 5 different countries involved, different institutions that we developed some data management recommendations. We are using this, and we are using the experience of Oak Ridge National Laboratory. They have 30 years to work with atmospheric data and data management atmospheric data. So this is our inspiration, and they give some directions for the curation. And it's important to say this project is support for Global Access Fund of DataCite. DataCite released last year a call to support projects in the world, to mostly in South America, in Asia, and Africa, that we can release, we can curation data, and can publish data. So this is the idea of this fund and this call. So we are honored to be awarded for this fund, and they are supporting this effort during this year. Next slide, please. So it's important. This effort is coordinated by 3 researchers, Luciana and Alan. They are from researchers in atmospheric data. They understand better about the meteorologists. They are meteorologists, and so they understand better the data. And so my profile with some experience with in data management related computer science. So we mix a team that we can work together and provide some best practices for curation. It's important to say too that we have 10 students. We are with scholarship support by DataSite. They are working with, we are training them for make curation, because we are collecting data from Amazon that are not published yet, but we must collect metadata, you must collect data quality information about sensors, because all of this metadata is important for curation. So we have 10 students, and you are training them, and they are delivering, they are publishing the data in this platform. Next slide, please. So the context that there are in Amazon, we have a large amount of data related with a greenhouse gas, and we must to have all this data together to provide some studies and processing and analyzing. So this is the main motivation. The goals of our project is deliver a data discovery and visualization platform for access this data. We are going to provide some resources for data processing, part of this data. And the idea is to have a unified platform that you can develop an experiment with different stage, since the data you have an access of the data until you have your model, you create your model and make the visualization. This is the idea of this process, and you are collecting metadata, you are collecting data, you are collecting everything, put all these together to promote the reproducibility, and this is the data map, the idea of this platform. Next slide, please. So this data map, Amazon will deliver a software. This software will manage data from 2 huge projects here in Brazil. One is a long-term project that are collecting, monitoring data in Amazon. They call LBA. They have 12 towers in Amazon that collect different aerosol data. So we are aggregate all this data in the same platform. And they have another data set. We call Amazon Face. Amazon Face, there are 6 plots in the Amazon with different contexts. They are injecting carbon in the area, and they are understand how is the forest is is consuming the carbon or delivering carbon. So we are understand this. This is a project. This project will be for a long term. So this is 2 huge projects, and we are aggregate all of this data in the same platform. Another initiative of this project is make curation of legacy data, because this project has legacy data, and this data set is not published yet. So we have 10 students to work in this data curation before to publish, and this is what we are doing, curation legacy data sets. And we are training, because they are training, and we are going to, when you develop the methodology for data curation, you are disseminating these methodology for other researchers, other early career researchers here, mainly in Brazil, but of course, you have many students for different countries in Amazon, so they will be affected. They could be affected for this initiative. Next slide, please. So just to give a general information about how you are working in data platform, please next slide, just to have an idea, general. We have different data sources. These data sources, you are put all of this data in a data lake, no format, like files. You are starting processing then this data, make some for gap data, understand all of this data that you have available. And we are collecting metadata and make this all metadata collected. We are use some of this data will have DOI, others we don't have. That the data set that you don't have DOI, you are create a new DOI for them. And we are deliver this data for data analysis and create machine learning models. Next slide, please. So please click. We have some, yes, please. One more and one more. Yes. We have 3 levels of data. We have metadata that we describe data dictionary, about the data quality, about sensors, about the methodology of collected. We have the data files, of course. We have raw data. You have the raw data processed because we must to make data quality, and so you have levels of data quality, data files, raw data. And when you put all data set together, you have all data files together in the same experiment, you have a data set. So this is the concept, and we are working in our data dictionary related with 3 levels of data. Thank you. And next slide, please. The data map to support different stage of data science experiment is developing using some APIs, and you are using the idea, the same similar a Kaggle platform, but you can access and we can deliver the data, deliver experiment using API, and you are accessing remote data, because you don't have all data from Amazon in the same platform, just in your infrastructure. You are accessing some data sets for different repositories from, for example, from ARM or other repositories that deliver API. So we are put all for the user point of view, they are accessing the same platform, but you are working with distributed data. Next platform, please. Next slide, please. We have a first version of this platform. You can access datamap.pcs.usp.br. You can access this. This is just our first version. Please, just next slide. With just some features. This feature is this portal you can access using your ORCID, your register, using your ORCID. We are using some data management, creating some DOIs if necessary. We can download some data sets or some files that using different formats, different standards like NetCDF. Yes, this is just general information. Next slide, please. And it's important to say that we are going to realize a new workshop about for training researchers here in Brazil related with data curation. Will be workshop in data science, open starting October 7 here in Brazil. Will be remote, in person. Someone interested to attend this workshop will support by DataSite with support of global access fund of data site. Someone interesting, we don't have a website yet. Please contact me. We are very happy that you attend this workshop. Next slide. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. We don't have a lot of discussion at the moment. Oh, we skipped that slide. Okay. Oh, no. Open discussion. This is a slide. Is there anyone else who would like to add to the, from their point of view, how this community of practice? So Pedro's talk is exactly the kind of information that we'd really like to share. Working with aerosols in the Amazon, having that kind of collaboration, hosting students. I mean, there's a real opportunity for other organizations internationally to actually participate remotely and be enriched and enrich the what's happening under Pedro's direction. It is excellent. I mean, Pedro and I have worked together for over 5 years, and the work that's happening is really incredible. And there's this, opportunity for collaboration and maybe, based on some deep, connections through the community of practice, swap of postdocs or opportunities such as. So that's how I see his presentation. That's how I see the opportunity for connection, collaboration, enrichment of networks, inclusion of others. So does anyone else in the session want to mention anything that would be useful to include in the case statement, or just useful to say generally? Graham, hello.
Yeah, I just want to kind of pick up on that last sort of point. So, the presentation about kind of like the cloud solutions, I think there are many instances of different portals or services out there, and they are sort of all evolving at a pace, but they're quite siloed.
Yeah.
And absolutely kind of, beyond kind of saying, okay, can we swap kind of postdocs and staff and collaborate on a particular project or an area? I think there's actually a lot to be shared about our experiences actually building these platforms and the infrastructure behind that. I'm not sure if that's currently listed in the initial priorities list.
Yeah,
itself.
no, you're right. It's a gap. Yeah, thank you.
It's like when we've been in a number of sort of conferences over the years where we turn up, and the scale of some of the operations which we're involved with in the UK, we struggle to find counterparts to have the sort of conversations with.
Yeah, let's see. I was going to use the recording to do notes, but Graham, I don't want to miss this one. So let me action add to the value statement. I'll figure that out in a moment. The technical knowledge, the sharing of the technical knowledge of how to do something. I think that's what you mean. Does that sound okay?
Yeah. I think there are definitely kind of technical aspects here which are specific to our domain, the environmental domain. If you take, for example, stack catalogs and things like that, the large scale analysis platforms as well.
Yeah. Okay.
They go beyond, just like say this domain agnostic. I think there are some specific topics around our area.
Yeah. And presentations like what Pedro just did would trigger people's awareness, and it may not be the exact research question being asked, but it's the platform that's being created to answer that question, and it could very well be the same platform. And then extrapolation, I happen to be at the Moore Foundation today, of all days, and there was a conversation here about pooling resources in order to provide a larger solution that's more effective, as opposed to smaller amounts of money going to individual efforts. And if the community of practice could, like in my fictional brain, Pedro and Graham could identify a platform that's needed that could either answer one question or 5 questions, and UK funds could be pulled together with US funds to do something that the two of you could never, not US, I'm sorry, Brazil. Oh, sure, let's throw the US in. Brazil funds. And if you came together to do it, you could do something that you could never have done by yourselves. And if we don't have a way to connect the dots, it would just be harder. It's not impossible, but it's harder. Stephen, please go ahead.
Oh, I think I was in the same vein. I mean, the thing that interests me about this idea of a community of practice would be along the lines of actually having people talk about the technology they're actually using and how they're solving problems. So for instance, in Pedro's presentation, so there's an API that they're using to access their data. Well, everybody's making APIs. It'd be interesting for people to get together and say, here's how we're implementing them. Here's how we're documenting them. Here's how people are using them. And I think what we'd see is a lot, hopefully there would be common patterns that would emerge that could start to be the community of practice for how we do earth and environmental science APIs. Metadata is another one. Leslie brought up vocabularies. What vocabularies are people using and how are they managing them? And I think, everybody's got vocabulary. Where are they and how come we can't start to converge on using the same vocabularies? So just sharing information about that at a very basic level, I think, would be useful.
Okay. That's excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, Ian. Hello, Ian.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. So one of the strengths for me of RDA is the opportunity to share challenges with people across disciplines. And I think that's something worth always having in mind. And I see elements of that in the sort of priorities you've got there. Whether it comes through strongly enough, I don't know. But, I think some of the technical challenges, some of the policy challenges that have just been mentioned from the previous 2 speakers, I think, they're going to have commonalities with other disciplines as well. So I think that's an important opportunity for a community practice like this. I think we've been blessed with representation from the earth sciences at RDA meetings. And, I think what that points out is that a lot of activity does go on at sort of domain specific events. It would be great to have more of that within RDA as well, so that it's possible to tap into.
That's excellent. Thank you. All right. Great. Great.
Chilling. Sorry. There is
Go ahead. Go ahead.
a comment in the chat. Please, could you see there?
Oh,
Some-
Moriyama-san. Yeah, there we go. Hello, Moriyama-san. There's
Moriyama-san,
just
please.
idea for community development and connection to for this community of practice. One of the concerns from the past, there's some of the growing organizations in earth and space science fields have not been necessarily connected. For example, space science in the growing IHDEA, International Helio Physics Data Environment Alliance, and NASA, and I believe that's the European Space Agency as opposed to the ecological folks. The geospatial field has a successful international organization, OGC, yes, and so forth, all of them may not be necessarily bodies for this RDA group, while it may be worth considering connection with such invisible so far bodies if they are doing helpful works. It's Moriyama-san, and RDA and the space sciences has been a challenge. It's one of the reasons we actually dropped it from the community of practice name. However, you're bringing up a point where they also could use connection. I believe that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's always difficult to invite the appropriate persons that from those institutions or organizations. It's difficult to find the appropriate person in such bodies. And so the developing the human network is one of the concerns of our community, but yeah, OGC and the IHDEA, the Heliospheric Data Alliance, they are making their own data dictionary and their own controlled vocabulary in space exploration. So, and it may not the best body for the scope of your case statement. So I am not sure that those examples are good or not bad, but it may there may be other bodies like a FluxNet, which is for the, as you know, and so on, which are not necessarily connected to the RDA, but if RDA can connect them, then Athens Environment and Space Sciences could work more efficiently, in my sense, potentially. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to make a note, thank you, person, for fixing my spelling, that you're making a strong argument for including the space helio and such, because internationally they are not connected. I think I would perhaps put, but did you also made another point? FluxNet. I'm going to add FluxNet in as an organization to connect with, because that will fit in with environmental. The list of things that we are to tackle is long. I wonder if I could make maybe a documented point that you've made about all of the space and planetary sciences, that should they participate in RDA more strongly, that we should revisit our case statement or encourage them to create a community of practice, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay, let me.
I think so. Yeah, we may need to be careful that some community may not hope to connect to RDA. They want to do their own work only. So they just to call them and ask them what their intention about that kind of international connection like RDA.
Yep. And whoever's fixing my spelling, thank you. I will do that. I will take an action. I think what I have a stronger connection rate, well, not stronger, but a strong connection with the European Space Agency right now. I might start there, and see if there's interest. And Moriyama-san, you might be able to help me with JAXA when we see each other in a couple weeks for the JPGU, and we can ask them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. All right, well, we'll report back. If Europe and Japan would like to join, I think that would be enough for me to make an adjustment to our scope. It's Anka. Her last name is out of my head at the moment, but I would ask Anka, and we'll ask JAXA in a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm sorry, then, and may I add another, another comment?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's, yeah. I noticed that Leslie addressed a very important point about the scientific unions, access to the scientific unions. And for example, in the IUGG, as you know, there was a body, Union Commission of Data and Information, which was established by Peter Fox. Yeah, but it is called UCDI, Union Commission on Data Information. The UCDI has disbanded in 2023. So IUGG, as far as I know, IUGG has no data commission or data committee inside. And so the data community like RGA or others, CODATA or other WDS maybe worth stimulating IUGG headquarters to create an appropriate data organization inside the IUGG or other scientific unions. Yeah, that's another point of my concern in the community. Yeah, thank you very much.
Leslie reported on the funds being asked for, I believe, IUGS to have a meeting to explore a new data, but it has a very specific goal, though. It's very bounded. Oh, Leslie, thanks.
Let me unmute. I've just put the link in the
Go
chat.
ahead.
Riyama-san, there is a proposal which I've just put there that has just been put before IUGG, supported by seismology, volcanology, and I think it's geomagnetism, to actually re-establish the UCDI. And there's the proposal that's there. And also with the International Union of Geological Sciences, just another bit of news. They presented at the European Geosciences Union session about a month ago. And they said they are seriously looking into being able to provide well, it won't be as sophisticated as the Oceans Best Practice site, but at least provide a register where earth science, geology people can start to host their vocabularies and best practices.
Great, thank you very much.
Leslie, is that
Yeah.
a CGI activity or?
Yeah, it was an abstract by Mark Rattenbury, and they also said that they're not going to be really fussy and aim for, one standard to rule them all. It's a matter of, as you said, fleshing them out, which is what Oceans Best Practice did, and then people start to work together. I'll put a link to Mark's abstract, but it was, everyone, we now want to follow it up with them, the geochemistry group, because that may solve some of our issues. But I guess for this community of practice, I mean, we've got all these bits and pieces solutions, but we really need to have something a bit more reliable.
Super.
Leslie, if this application is open for the community or it is still confidential document?
No, it's been submitted and it was distributed. I don't remember there being any blockage, but don't forget, it's only for a grant of 20, I think it's 20,000, sorry, 20,000, my blushing out fanny. it's a limited amount of money whereby we can get the unions together to actually get the thing going again. It's just enough for a workshop to get it all started again.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, inside in Japan, the Science Council of Japan is having a special commission about the ISC affiliated bodies and the unions, but so cross-domain communications with the ISC bodies and unions are not very much very smooth. If this could be introduced to the Science Council of Japan and the other Asian colleagues, and it could be a good reference, I thought.
Yeah. Another thing I have heard, it's just in the planning stage, is that CoData and the science unions are going to hold a data summit. Because every science union is supposed to have a connection through a representative on CoData. Ian Bruno would know all this as well if he's still in the audience. But it's to showcase what some of the leading groups like International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, I think astronomy would be their crystallography, what they're doing to publicize data standards and see if we can't get it going to a higher profile across other unions. Okay, and then Steve, I've just put Mark's abstract in the chat for you.
So Shelley, I
Thank you
want to
very
draw your
much.
attention to
Thanks.
a chat from Graham about the scope and maybe increasing to include planetary sciences, not just space or heliophysics or weather. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see it.
It's very
so-
intriguing that they're applying or trying to apply CF standard names on other sort of celestial non-Earth bodies. That's really intriguing.
Very
It's,
cool.
yeah, it wasn't the standard names. It's actually using CF standards.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that
some interesting
clarification,
headaches,
because
I can
that
tell
was
you
a
that.
stretch.
Just so I just follow Graham. In this IUGG proposal, as you can see, first of all, we're going for DOIs. The other thing too we were going for was like coordination of HDF formats, and which would then of course bring in CF conventions. I'll just actually say something. Part of the reason why we got nervous about space is this also happened with the current interest group, that the minute you put space in, then all the geospatial people, like urban, like space location, they come in. And that was, we thought, a bridge too far, but I would agree that because of what you're doing in Earth, particularly solid Earth, it's not too hard to extend that to planetary and the genuine outer space stuff.
Can I ask a question, Shelley, Leslie? More of the sort of taking a 30,000 foot, coming up from scope and things like that, and I am totally on board with all of this. I think it's great, and I love the example that Leslie used in oceans, because I think oceans did come together quite nicely again under a sort of the international auspices and the IOC and the IODE to form the ocean best practices, and that Leslie's being very kind, that quickly got out of hand, and they are splintering that off and trying to sort of work on a concerted effort to kind of narrow the scope of that. But I guess my point there is that it's effort, but it also was a bit of stone soup to begin with, so there wasn't anything there. IODE decided to invest in this document repository for best practices, and it took off, right? People used it wildly, and then they used it wildly. Like it sort of diluted the value because there was no governance, or the governance wasn't robust enough to take care of the rapid proliferation that happened. And so I guess two questions I have is that piece, right? The structure piece, and it does need attention, right? That was an example of how it needed attention. but then, and I guess maybe that was a need, because my next question was going to be, Leslie also alluded to CoData being the connection, sort of like mapping up to CoData gets you connected to the researchers, because researchers don't come to ESEP, they don't come to RDA. And so is that the expectation, is that CoData will bring the researchers to the community of practice?
That wasn't in my mind. In my mind,
No,
it was our connections to AGU, EGU, and JPGU that would do that.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I think, Danny, I think like with, if Ian's still here, there are people that are involved in CoData. It's just that it provides us an avenue, and CoData, as you know, Simon Hodson normally comes to RDA, and he would have been speaking here, only he didn't make it to this RDA. I just think it's a way of connecting, and I think there's enough connectors who can bring in what's going on in CoData into this group. But yeah, I don't think we'd ever get, I agree with you, we won't ever get the hardcore scientists
Yeah.
to participate in RDA. It's mission impossible.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
So I can add a bit of a perspective from chemistry. It's not something that, I'm sort of thinking on the fly a little bit here. But if we look at where activity is going on when it comes to defining the standards at the moment, that is a lot of work is happening in IUPAC. I think there are then national initiatives that are spinning up. There's an FDI in Germany, and there's specifically an FDI for chem. And then there's a sort of physical sciences data infrastructure initiative in the UK. Whether they're going to be developing standards, they're certainly going to be developing best practices. I think something I've observed with, again, the experiences of chemistry and RDA is actually recent events have brought together people involved in those different disciplines, and that's been the forum where they've come together. I think, again, that refers back to sort of an earlier comment about discovering that somebody might be tackling a problem in South America and also in the UK. A community of practice can help sort of surface those sorts of things. I think, yeah, I'm not sure what I think about CoData. I think you're probably closer to CoData than I am, actually, Leslie. So I think your probably observations are going to be more astute. So I won't try and say things about which I know too little. But I think, yeah, I'm just building on. It's going to echo a little bit what I said before. The other thing that's happened within RDA, when you bring initiatives together within chemistry, again, it's that opportunity for interaction with the sort of intersection with other disciplines as well, which has been quite strong recently. Where that leads me from the point of view of recommendations for this, I think it just adds weight to the point that this is probably a good idea.
I just add one quick word, is that yeah, I've probably been going to CoData General Assemblies on and off since about 2010. And initially hardly anyone turned up from the science unions. It was just John Halliwell and someone from astronomy and a couple of others. But at the last one, which was in Salzburg, it was amazing because at the CoData General Assembly, quite a few science union reps turned up and was sort of demanding, well, hang on, what are you doing? You know, we want to progress this. How do we do it? So I think there is growing awareness within the scientific community that they really need to get in on this and address the issue of the validity of the scientific content of the vocabularies, which is I'm sure this is something Steve Richard could talk about. And so it's kind of like this community of practice could be where we actually get the connections going. Even if we don't end up with everyone in the room at an RDA meeting, we've got the ways and means with, you know, online webinars and that to get some connections going.
Yeah, and I think Yeah, I don't know again enough about other unions, but I wonder if they're going through the same sort of evolution that IUPAC is in a bit. I mean, nomenclature and the sort of books of terminology were sort of written many, many years ago and have evolved, then minor updates as time gone on, and now along comes digital, and it's kind of okay, we need the digital equivalents, and actually this is a big job because it's needed quickly. Whereas it was okay to evolve sort of nomenclature and that over a sort of decades. There's now a sort of demand for sort of digital standards, digital practices to be clarified much quicker. So yeah, tapping into that need is another thing to think about,
And-
why it's good to engage co-data, because it has that connection to the unions.
And I think tapping into it, which is maybe a thing with this group, is that, like, as you know, we've been trying to get geochemistry standards. And if someone sends me one more PDF or research paper, say, here, we've done it all, and I've got this text-rich description with no structure, it's about the realization that we need them and that what they've got is not good enough. And so how we've got best practices in converting the PDFs, etc., into something that's usable in the machine readable age is maybe something that could be a topic for this group. Because the expertise on that lies within RDA.
Okay, we have just under 20 minutes left. There are a couple things I would like to show you. Let me just make sure I'm not skipping everything. Yes, we're going to move on to our next agenda item.
Just before we do, could I ask a naive question?
Oh yeah, hey Greg.
Right. So ESET, what's the relationship between this proposed community of practice and ESET, if any, or overlaps?
Well, I'll argue straight off. The current interest group is called the Earth Science. It's called the ESEP/RDA, Earth-Based Environmental Science Interest Group. So we've had a relationship with ESEP from the start, and we are connected. And so the ESEP things do come in. Shelley, perhaps you could talk about the future.
Okay, I will see the future at this very moment. I'm sorry, I'm teasing you, Leslie. Just because of how you queued me up. ESEP has clusters, working groups, and Leslie just actually pitched how they can connect to RDA as they're developing something funded within the United States, and it's clearly something valuable internationally. The recommendation would be bring it to, and previously it was ... the ESES-IG. There is a outstanding topic for the ESES-IG. Do you want to continue? Should we have an approved community of practice? Does the IG want to continue? The tea leaves are indicating that no, that it's the same people, and we're not going to hold two meetings to talk about something that is either a superset or a subset. We'll have one set of meetings, and likely the IG will dissolve, though I am seeing the future, so therefore I'm letting you know. I could be wrong. So they would be one of the groups. Probably I need to add in UKRI as a group, and maybe some other UK groups, keeping in mind my brain is US bias. So when I was typing, I came up with US groups. I did think of ESES-CoP. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Danny, do you mind unsharing? I think I might. Let me check on something. And see if this. I'm just going to share everything. Sorry if you're seeing the world. Over here. Okay, so this is the current community of practice. document. I'll pop it into the chat for you to get into. And if I roll up here, I started to answer one of Leslie's desires to identify the disciplines. We've just argued in space science. I think we have enough argument that we're going to do that. That's how I felt about our conversation today. So I think we need to put it back in, which also means we have to add it up here. I have no problem doing that. Now back to ESEP. Here, this is essentially the vision statement. And I think, Graham, you might have looked at this statement and said, why are ESEP clusters being highlighted and not other groups? And why is COP just being highlighted and not other groups? Is that maybe where your comment came from?
Like I said earlier on, it was a question of naivety. So I came across ESEP relatively recently, and to my intents and purposes, you know, I see a lot of the conversations that go on there are similar to kind of what I would see kind of this community of practice doing. But obviously, maybe it's just different parts of the world, you know, that's currently being discussed, and how do we ensure that, you know, we bring those two halves of the hemisphere or two hemispheres together, and not just have, you know, ESEPs over there, and then we have this community practice, which ends up being Eurocentric because, or, you know, whatever.
Yes.
How do we ensure that kind of it is global, that it is kind of bringing people together right across the board?
So I have a follow-up, maybe question or comment to that, you know, I view ESEP as a place where people come together and they actually do and make things too. And so to that extent, you know, that branch of ESEP could be solving problems or filling gaps in, you know, a community need that's identified by the community of practice. Or, you know, maybe that's just a wild hair, but that's how I view that sort of landscape where the ESEP comes together and people do things like they don't, I mean, they share certainly and educate and all of that great stuff, but then they actually will construct and make and solve, you know, create solutions.
Yeah, no, I'm all about the do, but this is too biased. So I'm going to pull out, I'm just going to do it right now. It should really just be that.
So I mean, I kind of see kind of, you know, the RDA as it's a place that you get to do as well, rather than you know, turn up things like EGU, where it's basically it brings together a community, but then there you go, they go to the four winds again. So I think, you know, things like the RDA are absolutely kind of essential to kind of get on and do stuff. But yeah, about bringing those conversations together, you know, from the four winds and keeping them together.
Let me direct you. I'm still, the engagement section needs a little bit more. There's related communities right here and possible IGs and working groups. I literally just went through the website and pulled stuff out. I don't think we should, unless you see something like, oh my gosh, like Danny, your new group here, I added your new group in it, even though it's not endorsed. These two working groups are actually spun off from the ESES-IG. So we definitely want to keep them connected with us. But if anyone has something else that they want to add, you know, add here, but I think this list is done. It's good enough just to submit as a case statement. But this one, the related communities, I don't feel comfortable with this at all because as I mentioned, it's my bias thinking, and I really need us to think it through. There is below under number 10, co-chairs, where's the group list? Here is where it makes sense for us to list it. Maybe? Moriam,
Shelley, I see you have You had the CD up above, but not WDS, or maybe I missed that.
Oh, nope, I don't have WDS anywhere. That's not good for me, right? Let me go grab that other list because I made these at two different moments in time, so it was just one. One coffee or no coffees. That's what it was. Okay, so, and what I'll do is I'll get rid of one or the other and just have one list, so there's not two, so. Council, is it of or for? I don't know. It's probably the other way.
I think it's of, but that's okay. I'll get the gist.
They know who they are. Council for Data Facilities is out of, it was funded through the National Science Foundation through EarthCube, and now it is not.
Now we're under ESEP.
It actually lives under ESEP, yeah. And it's Nick Charbot and Karen Stocks. I don't know how they'll feel about this. They may not want to be included. We already have, and I really want to say here, ESEP and ESEP clusters. I don't know how much Susan wants to engage, but the cluster should definitely engage. And Danny, AGU Informatics, you are the president.
Yes,
Yep.
we're engaging.
Yes, you are. Jens Klump and Martina Stockhouse are lead the other end for EGU. That should say informatics in here. Division. So they are right here. Jens and Martina. Earth and Space Science Informatics, otherwise known as ESE. Division, not section. And Moriyama-san, are you still on?
Yeah.
Okay, Joss is more generic discipline. Do you think Josh should, the Japanese Open Science Symposium should be here?
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. The JOSI stands for Japan Open Science Summit, but anyways,
Thank you. Apologies.
and it is for general open science from the information scientists and the practitioners, librarians, and the space science, humanity scientists, etc. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can ask. We can ask if they'd like to be a part of it. They don't have to be. They can decline. JPGU doesn't have an informatics section or division.
Right, no, they don't have. They are now having a open science subcommittee and research data management task force. So still data activity is inside the headquarters. We are increasing the number of the informatics sessions, scientific sessions.
Yeah.
But section itself is not easy to establish newly.
Okay. You said data management task force, and remind me of the other one?
Open science subcommittee.
Subcommittee.
Yeah.
Should I list them separately?
Yeah. Then please delete the open science subcommittee, but it is now the task force is the main body to work on the community access for data repository.
Who is it I should write to? Otani? Otani-san?
Otani, yeah, yes. OHTANI.
Otani-san. And I think I will see him in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Maybe you and I can talk to him.
Yeah,
Okay.
as a JPG. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, excellent. All
Thank
right,
you very much.
I will, thank you. This is really nice. I will, okay, Envery, I don't know what is, so I'm in the UK now. UKRI. Graham.
EPOS.
Oh, are you all adding? Oh, you are adding. Bless you all. Oh, EPOS. And please let me know like who to talk to.
Yeah.
Is Envery a thing?
Let me check.
Okay. Yes.
Shelly,
Yes.
hi, how are you?
Oh, Gabby, hey. Who should we put down
Uh,
for Costa Rica?
Yes, looking forward to receive you in November. You know,
Yes.
because Costa Rica and France are organizing all the conference for the ocean,
Yes.
for the UN conference 2025 and 2024, and in a month, less than a month, we are organizing the academic congress here in Costa Rica for the conference. And we receive IPOS as one of the,
ICOS.
yeah, the
ICOS.
invited, yes.
Yes,
And
that's a great
yes,
one to add.
yes, and maybe we can, I can find some people that comes and that is coming, and even maybe you can, because the Congress will be hybrid, then you can see people that will participate in the Congress in the
Yes.
stream. Then I will send you, I can put the inscription place and all that, and maybe you can find people there
Right.
that
I do
can be
have
with you.
ICOS contacts. So yes, please tell me who's coming. And then if for whatever reason you're challenged, I
Okay.
think I also have contacts.
Okay, I will tell you. Okay.
Brilliant. That's a really great idea.
Yes.
I
And,
added
and later on, I would like some of you, some of the people that are proposing this, to come to have a meeting with the Oceanic Science Committee from Universidad Nacional.
Yeah.
And yes, and maybe you can find some people that can join with you.
Oh, I would love that. I would love
Okay.
that. Yes. Yes. Or and anyone on this in the in this with us. It does not have to be me and should not be me. We should create our own ambassadors.
Yes, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's why I say that it could be you or could be anyone, anybody else.
Yes.
There.
Yes. And we actually, I'll write down an action item in our notes to create. I do not know why I'm having this wicked old formatting problem.
Because it's awful to work in that platform. That's why.
Oh, I cut and paste quite a lot, so it's probably coming back to
Well,
bite me.
I will get to you with the contact that I can see, and okay.
Okay, that's great. This is a great start. Oh, thank you. Thank you for who is filling in here. This is a really great start. Okay. We are at the top of the hour. We do need to identify co-chairs. Be ready for the voluntold moment. When I tap you on the shoulder and write you a note, please don't delete my email. We have to do this. Is there anyone? I'm just gonna look at you all. Oh, I'm sharing. All right. Hi. Would anybody like to put up their hand to be a co-chair right now? Continents matter here. We need 3 co-chairs from 3 separate continents. Oh my gosh, you all are putting your hands up. No, it's okay. We just need 3. Leslie, you already do too much. Put your hand down. Moriyama-san, you're way too busy. Put your hand down. Okay. Graham's stifling a laugh. Thanks, I appreciate that. I feel like my humor got through to you. Okay, all right, more on that later. I won't do it now. You have your hand up? Pedro, did you really? Can I put you down?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, winning. Oh,
Also by proxy, Shelley, our IG will dissolve potentially.
yeah, we could just pull the same co-chairs in, but I just didn't
I don't know
want
why I'm saying
to.
that, but you know, there is a thought there.
Yep. Well, and please, as we are ending today, I truly believe we need a community manager who has a significant amount of time dedicated to just doing this. So as we finalize the case statement, we're also, our big ideas are going to need time from someone to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
And I really believe that if we pick as some of our early objectives, something very, does anybody mind if we just pick the discipline specific guidance as like a #1 target? Can I just go with that and then we can vote on everything else later?
You mean lead the witness and then just vote
That's right.
after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah. If that's correct. Okay, I get a thumbs up on that, thanks.
Yay! Look, Natalie agrees.
Okay. And I'm not saying we know how it's gonna work. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, can we, can the brain hive wrap it around that problem, which is, by the way, really complicated. And okay, thank you.
But
All right.
maybe, so I haven't really looked at I got to go back and look at your prize, but is there that you selected that as the easy win to like demonstrate value?
No. No.
Well, okay, so
not
there's something
easy.
to be said for the easy win for, kind of getting the ball
We
rolling.
need an 18-month goal. So we should just bite off a piece of that, is what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Even some landscape work would be good. Well, I don't know, maybe I can get some money from the Moore Foundation. Gosh, I didn't come here to get money, by the way. I came here to give them something, so they owe me something.
But be efficient while you're there. How
Their offices are posh. We had sushi for lunch. Oh God.
Oh, well, that's just saying they have money to give. Well, this has been great. This cleared up a few kind of gray areas for me. So I really appreciate going through the
Excellent
statement. I'm gonna go scoot and eat dinner.
Okay, we'll end for now. So I'm gonna finish up this case statement so we can get it submitted so we can be actually live when we get to Costa Rica with Gabby.
Nice.
Yes.
Great, perfect.
Really good to see everybody.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna end the recording.